Hey guys, welcome to That Florida Feeling. Hope everybody's had a good week. I know it's been a week. I know it's been a month, and we're only 7 days in. I hope everybody's doing good. I just want everybody to know that I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you are here, and I'm glad that you are my listener. I value each and every one of you, and if you just need to reach out and say hi or talk, I'm here for you guys. I know that right now, it's a little weird in the world, and we're all just kind of getting through it. So, yeah, I know, I know, we're dealing with it. But I want to say thank you to everybody who has said hi lately or interacted with me in any way. I made a lot of good friends on this podcast, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you. I really am. It's been really great to meet some awesome people through this podcast. I started this years ago just as I'm going to do this, and I did not imagine that I would meet some amazing people, and I have, and I am really grateful that I have. So, to each and every one of you, I am truly grateful that you have become my friends, and I am glad that I talk to most of you most every day. I look forward to it. Thank you to everybody who does interact with me through most social media, through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. You guys are awesome. I love it. I love interacting with you guys and hearing about your days and learning about new places in Florida or just how you're doing. I love it. I absolutely do. You guys do make my day better. So thank you. Thank you for helping make this podcast successful. I wouldn't be here if you guys weren't listening. So thank you. I do want to give a shout out to everybody who has checked out Unfiltered Studios. And for those of you who haven't, definitely go check out Unfiltered Studios. There are some amazing people in Unfiltered Studios and on those podcasts. And if you're looking for a new podcast, you'll definitely find one over there. You know, there's movies and some there's a hypnosis one. Cindy's amazing. There is advice with Mama D. There's Stupid History Minute with Kev. So, you know, there's Unfiltered Sports. There's Sleepy G. You just got to check it out. You know, there's really something for everybody on Unfiltered Studios. So just go give it a listen. See if you find a new podcast and, you know, find something new. Hope you guys liked my last episode about Avon Park. Just another fun place. In fact, it's kind of like That Florida Feeling, just finding the new places. And today we're going to talk about an issue that Florida has. I mean, Florida has a lot of issues. We know that, especially if you live in Florida. I mean, pick one. Are we going to talk about the traffic? Are we going to talk about the snowbirds? Are we going to talk about building in places that we shouldn't be building in? Are we going to talk about hurricanes, sinkholes, high prices, Polk County, Pasco County? Or are we going to talk about the iguanas? Today we're actually going to talk about the iguanas. And surprisingly, guys, iguanas are kind of actually a real problem. Florida is actually home to some really cool native species and obviously some invasive species. And these invasive species are kind of starting to cause a problem. Surprise, iguanas are actually an invasive species. Kind of like pythons that we deal with in the Everglades. Iguanas probably don't look like they're an invasive species because they kind of look like they fit in, right? They look like they fit in with Florida's foliage and their flowers and their beaches. And there's just this big lizard that's just strolling around, kind of like the alligators, but they don't. They're actually invasive. The did you hear that? The green iguana is actually doing more harm than good to Florida, especially South Florida. And it's actually slowly moving its way north. The lizards are now on the prohibited species, according to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. The green iguana is considered an invasive species due to their impact on the native wildlife in Florida. The iguanas are large lizards, typically green, but they can be brown, orange, pink, or almost black in color, depending on the time of year. The younger iguanas are usually those bright green ones. So like when you think of an iguana, you think of that bright green. Those are usually the younger ones. That's when you usually see them. They're really young. Those are the ones you also probably see falling out of trees when it gets cold. And they're often characterized with having a row of spikes on the center of its neck and that extend down its back and usually to the upper portion of its tail. The mature males will develop heavy jowls towards their bottom jaw and a throat fan that's known as a dewlap. They tend to be much larger, to have much larger of those throat fans than the females. And those throat fans actually help the males look larger to predators. They look more, I don't know, mean against predators. I don't know. But of course, these dewlaps also serve another purpose. They help males attract females as they choose a mate with larger fans. I don't know. I guess it sounds like humans, the larger. Well, anyways. So those throat fans serve dual purposes. The throat fans can also help iguanas regulate their body temperature. But so yeah, if you see one and it's got a pretty big, it's probably a guy. Male iguanas can usually grow to be about 5 feet in length and weigh about 17 pounds. Females grow they grow under 5 feet in length and only grow to be about 7 pounds. Females usually reach reproductive maturity between 2 and 4 years of age. The iguana mating season is usually October to November, so right about now. And they choose to nest on riverbanks, beaches, and any sandy area they can find, which pretty much sounds like all of Central and South Florida. Actually, most of Florida. But anyways, Polk County and South. So that's why they're kind of moving north. How do these things mate? Well, the females will dig an egg chamber that can contain 80 feet of interconnected tunnels with different entrances to lay anywhere from 14 to 75 eggs at a time. So they kind of sound like bunnies. They just reproduce mass amounts. And the iguanas, once hatched, will reach adulthood and can live up to 10 years in the wild and 19 years in captivity. So these things don't have a short lifespan at all. Once they hatch and they go to live on their own, they usually live on the ground, in shrubs, in trees. They've also known to live in a variety of habitats, including suburban areas, urban areas, small towns, in the fields, on the riverbanks, basically anywhere. They prefer to live in mangroves and water-filled areas. Usually find them near canals and levees. You're going to find them also in colonies. A lot of times they live in colonies, larger colonies, kind of like a family unit. You're going to find a lot of them in one area. They do swim, by the way. Yeah, they do swim. And they can swim and stand both saltwater and freshwater. And they can also be underwater for up to 4 hours at a time. These little things are kind of like tanks. So what do they survive on? Well, they survive on a wide variety of vegetation that includes leaves, flowers, and fruits. They also like to eat ornamental plants, which is kind of why most homeowners and gardeners don't like them, because they tend to destroy a lot of plants. HOAs hate them. Most subdivisions do not like them. Adult green iguanas have also known to eat bird eggs and dead animals. So basically, these little tanks eat anything. Yeah, that's why they survive so well, because they can live anywhere, they can swim in anything, and apparently they eat anything. See why these are becoming a problem? So where did they come from? So they're actually native to South and Central America, as well as the Caribbean islands. So how did they get to Florida? Well, the green iguana isn't the first lizard to be brought over to Florida, but it's probably one of the worst, however. They were first spotted in Hialeah, Coral Gables, and Key Biscayne in probably late 1950s, early 1960s. And there's quite a few theories as to actually how they got here. We don't really know, though. The first theory is that they were a stowaway on a boat from Cuba in cargo, and it came to Florida. The lizard got off, and it just grew. The second theory is that an exotic pet dealer released 300 of them on purpose. I can believe this only because iguanas are hard to keep in cages. When they outgrow their cage, I mean, they just outgrow their cage. They also escape from cages pretty easily. They become hard to maintain. People end up releasing them in the wild, and that 300 iguanas that possibly got released has now become a massive, massive problem for Florida. Iguanas are a problem because they're wreaking havoc on native species, plants, and they actually hurt people's pets. They're actually a huge problem. And of course, they started out in South Florida. They were first spotted in parts of Miami, but now they're moving north. They've gone south to the Keys. They have gone west to Tampa. They're going north to Orlando, and they've been seen as far north as St. Augustine. So it's not the heat that's stopping them. It's nothing that's stopping them. And iguanas are a large problem because not only are they endangering pets, but they're endangering the endangered species that are native to Florida. They've been seen using burrows of the Florida's native burrowing owls, which is a problem. The gopher tortoises, which are both, the owl and the tortoise are both threatened species in Florida. So that's already a problem. The iguanas could cause displacement from these native species that are burrowing, which means that they could go from threatened to endangered very quickly. The other problem is that iguanas are herbivores, which means that they're going to eat plants, and then they're going to transport these seeds of non-native plants that they're eating to areas where conservation is already underway to save these native plants, and then this undermines any efforts that we've already started to save these native plants. So basically, we have an area that's kind of designated as a native plant species, and then these iguanas just move through and undermine all these efforts, and now, inadvertently plant seeds that these non-native plants basically take over. But a study of the iguana movement, because people study everything, so a study of the iguana movement do suggest that while they do migrate, they don't actually migrate. I am not able to talk right now. They don't migrate far from their place of birth. So while they do move, they don't move far from where they were born. So that kind of begs the question, if they were seen in St. Augustine, was that a pet that was released? Anyways, so while it will be devastating, it's not like they're like swarming out of Florida. But they're also not just devastating to plants. They're also devastating to animals, like I mentioned. But the plants seem to be having a more devastating effect from the iguanas. The gray knickerbean is one of the plants that the iguanas like to feast on. Well, the knickerbean plant is one of the two hosts for caterpillars to the Miami blue butterfly, which occurs only in Florida, and it's already on the federal endangered species list. This butterfly has only been found in 3 places in the last 20 years: the Key West National Refuge, the Great White Heron National Wildlife Refuge, and the Bahia Honda State Park. All those are in the Keys. And I just told you that these little lizards, not even really little, have been taking over the Keys. The iguanas have been found in the Bahia Honda State Park. And scientists really kind of... I can't talk again. I'm dealing with an asthma attack, guys, from pneumonia. I'm sorry, I'm still getting over that. Scientists feel that it's only a matter of time before they really kind of just move through the Keys, eat all these plants, and that's another butterfly species. Unfortunately, it's going to disappear before we can save it. So iguanas don't only impact plants, they impact animals, but they also impact people. They're often seen in urban areas, And while they are rarely aggressive towards humans or pets, they do become hazards. One instance being when a green iguana darted out in front of a bicyclist and caused him to crash, causing an injury. The man ended up needing stitches, and unfortunately, this iguana did not survive the encounter with the bicycle. Iguanas do cause car accidents when darting across the road, and of course, a person's natural instinct is to swerve to avoid hitting them. South Florida also often reports high amounts of iguanas as roadkill, as that's where the highest population is in Florida currently. Although, probably the funniest hazard that happens with iguanas is one that often gets posted about on social media. And you all know what I'm talking about. It happens every winter when the temperature drops. And I've posted memes about this, and I'm guilty of this, but it's not funny because it is kind of serious. Iguanas kind of become an aerial hazard when the temperature drops, and cold snaps do happen in Florida. It does drop into the 50s and 40s in Miami. And then they become lethargic, and then they become stiff, and then they fall out of trees, and then they fall on people or pets. Funny enough, the National Weather Service actually issues falling iguana alerts because it becomes too cold in South Florida and they become a true falling hazard. But it also, so yes, iguanas fall because it becomes too cold, but they also warm back up. And if someone is too close to this iguana, when it warms back up, the iguana's natural defense when it warms up is to act defensively, and then someone can get hurt because the iguana is now freaking out, and then the person is freaking out, and then you just have a very bad situation. Excuse me, guys. But iguanas are also known to carry diseases such as E. coli, salmonella, and botulism. All those are very bad, guys, because some of those are antibiotic resistant strains. You usually don't give antibiotics for E. coli. I know this because I've had it. I did not get it from an iguana. No, I did not get it from an iguana. Although that would be a story. So that alone is a problem. Now, they don't know if they can transmit these to humans, but I do actually personally know of a case where someone had to put their animal down because this dog ate the iguana and got botulism. And unfortunately, the dog didn't make it. And that's what's horrible. That's actually one of the biggest problems that iguana pose to pets is that, sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Asthma attack from pneumonia. A dog eats an iguana or a cat eats an iguana. They get very sick. It shuts down their organs, and then you unfortunately lose a pet because these lizards. But iguanas also cause unsanitary conditions because, well, basically they're just going to use the bathroom wherever they want. So docks, pool decks, I about said poop deck because that's what it becomes. Pool deck, patios, and then it causes an issues for homeowners, public areas, and it's just a nasty, literally a nasty situation. Sorry, guys. So, what is Florida doing to combat this? Well, first off, it's pretty illegal to release one in the wild. So, you can't do that. You cannot release an exotic pet into the wild in Florida. You can, however, surrender it to the FWC's Exotic Pet Amnesty Program. I mean, that's a thing, and that's pretty cool that Florida allows you to do that. Like, they're going to let you, hey, I can't take care of it anymore. They'll take it. Sorry, guys. Green iguanas, though, however, are not protected in Florida except by an anti-cruelty law. So, you can humanely kill them on private property owned by the landowner with their permission. So, you can't be cruel, but you can kill them as long as you have permission by the landowner. The FCW actually encourages it, but it has to be done legally, safely, and humanely. Remember those 3 things: legally, safely, and humanely. Surprisingly, though, you can also hunt iguanas on 25 FCW-managed public lands. You don't need a permit to do this on these 25 pieces of land, but you cannot take a live iguana and transport it to do it somewhere else. Iguanas are actually a growing problem in Florida, and that is one that is slowly being addressed. I've seen them be a nuisance. I've seen an iguana chase a duck. I felt for the duck. I will say that if you decide to go down that route, please do dispose of them properly. Do not leave them around, because that is how that dog ended up getting sick and being put down. That is not what anybody needs to go through. They are a problem in Florida. It's actually seriously a real problem in Florida, guys. And it's one that I feel like we're going to be dealing with for quite a while. We don't really talk about it a lot, but it is something that I was asked to talk about. And it really is a problem. And I know it's not something you really see unless you're in South Florida, but it really is a problem. And I just figured it was something that, since this is that Florida feeling, that is something that we deal with in Florida. And it is a feeling that you get. Although it is kind of funny to see the National Weather Service issue the falling iguana alerts. You just kind of wait for it every year. But you know what? Iguanas aren't the only thing we deal with. There's actually a hurricane out in the Gulf in November. Who knows? I guess it is what it is. We're still in hurricane season. We got, 3 weeks left? Let's hope this is the last one, guys. But so in Florida, you're not only dealing with the iguanas, the snowbirds now, because it's November. Iguanas, hurricanes, snowbirds. What else have I got? Oh, Florida Man. That's right. We got Florida Man too. And today's Florida Man actually comes to us from South Florida. And this is why I say about those iguanas. A guy saw the falling iguanas, must have been new to Florida because he thought they were dead. Picked up a bunch of them because apparently, and I say apparently because I don't know this and I'm not going to find out, iguana meat is a delicacy. Like I said, not going to find out. Takes these iguanas, thinks they're dead, puts them in their car, starts to drive home. I guess it was cold because he must have turned the heat on, or it was warm enough in the car. And we all know where this is going, because the iguanas woke up in his car. They thawed out enough to wake up, and they started to attack him. This man instantly became Florida Man. Yeah, he survived the attack. I don't know if the iguanas did, but this man instantly became Florida Man. So remember, guys, if it gets cold enough and you're somewhere and an iguana is on the ground laying, leave it where it lays. Don't go there. Don't become that Florida Man. All right, guys. Sorry again about my cough. Still getting over pneumonia, but thank you so much for listening to this week. Don't forget to check out Unfiltered Studios. If you have a second, I really would appreciate a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. I really, really hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Next week till I talk to you again. Don't forget to check out the social media. If you just want to say hi, it's totally cool. Say hi. I really love hearing from you guys. Send me any suggestions you want to hear about Florida. Drink your water, guys. Wear your sunscreen. Be nice. There's enough assholes in the world. Let's not do that. And as always, guys, that's your daily dose of sunshine.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.